The Politician's Shadow, a Frank Murray investigation. Narrated by Frank Murray, private investigator. Politics is theater for people who think they're too important for Hollywood. They stand on stages, shake hands, kiss babies, and promise the world while their other hand is deep in someone's pocket. I've never trusted politicians, not because they're all corrupt, though plenty are, but because they've mastered the art of looking you in the eye while lying through their teeth. The name's Frank Murray, and I've been working as a private investigator in this city for 15 years. My office sits above Chen's Golden Dragon on 4th Street, and after 6 major cases, it's finally starting to look respectable. New window, working coffee maker, filing cabinet that opens on the first try. Small victories that remind me I'm moving up in the world, even if most days I'm still chasing cheating spouses and runaway teenagers. But every once in a while, a case walks through my door that reminds me why I do this job, why I keep taking the dangerous ones, the complicated ones, the ones that powerful people want to stay buried. It was a Monday morning in January when she walked in. 26 years old, dark hair, eyes that had seen too much too young. She was wearing jeans and a Columbia University sweatshirt, and she moved with the careful precision of someone who'd learned to make themselves small, invisible. "Mr. Murray," she said, her voice barely above a whisper, "my name is Rebecca Hale. I need your help, and I need you to promise me something before I tell you why." I gestured to the chair across from my desk. "The good one, the one that doesn't wobble. I don't make promises until I know what I'm getting into." "Promise me you won't go to the police." "Not yet. Not until I explain everything." That raised red flags immediately. People who don't want police involvement usually have something to hide, but there was genuine fear in her eyes, the kind that comes from real danger, not guilty conscience. "Tell me what's going on," I said. "Then we'll talk about what happens next." Rebecca sat down and pulled out her phone. She showed me a photo of a man in his 50s, handsome in that polished politician way. Silver hair, expensive suit, the kind of smile that probably won elections. "Do you know who this is?" she asked. I did. Everyone in the state knew that face. Senator William Garrison, 3-term senator, chairman of a judiciary committee, and according to polls, the frontrunner for governor in next year's election. He was from old money, had a picture-perfect family, and a reputation as a crusader against corruption, the kind of politician who made you almost believe the system could work. "Senator Garrison," I said, "what about him?" "He raped me," Rebecca said flatly, 3 years ago, when I was an intern in his office, and he's been paying me to keep quiet ever since." The room suddenly felt colder. I've heard a lot of confessions in my office, seen a lot of pain, but there's something particularly brutal about sexual assault cases. The way they break people, the way they never really heal. "Tell me everything," I said quietly. Rebecca's story came out in fits and starts, like she told it to herself 1,000 times, but never out loud. She'd been a political science major at Georgetown, 23 years old, idealistic about changing the world through public service. She applied for an internship with Senator Garrison because he was a champion of women's rights, an advocate for assault survivors, someone she admired. She got the internship. It was supposed to be the beginning of her career. "It happened after a fundraiser," Rebecca said, her hands twisting in her lap. Everyone else had left. "The senator asked me to help him with some documents in his private office. I thought it was work. I thought—" Her voice broke. "He locked the door. He told me that if I wanted to have a future in politics, I needed to understand how power really works. Then he—" "You don't have to give me details," I said gently. "Not unless you want to." She nodded, grateful. Afterwards, he told me that no one would believe me, that he had a wife and 2 daughters, a spotless reputation, that if I told anyone, he would destroy me. I believed him. "But you reported it anyway." I tried. I went to the police 3 days later, gave a statement, submitted to a rape kit, the whole traumatic process. And then nothing. The investigation just stopped. The detective I talked to said there wasn't enough evidence, that it was he said, she said, that pursuing it would be difficult. Rebecca's jaw tightened. A week later, a lawyer showed up at my apartment. He had a check for $50,000 and a non-disclosure agreement. The senator wanted to settle this misunderstanding before my false accusations ruined his career. Did you take the money? I was 23, broke, traumatized, and terrified. Yes, I took the money. I signed the NDA. I dropped out of school and moved back home. She looked at me with hollow eyes. Every month for the last 3 years, another check arrives. $50,000 deposited into my account automatically. Hush money, blood money, the price of my silence. Why come forward now? Why risk breaking the NDA? Rebecca pulled up another photo on her phone. This one showed a young woman, maybe 22, with bright eyes and a hopeful smile. Her name is Jennifer Torres. She's an intern in Senator Garrison's office right now. Last week, she posted this on her private Instagram. She was excited to be working late on an important project with the senator. I sent her a message warning her to be careful, to never be alone with him. She blocked me. You think he's going to assault her? I think he already has, or he's about to, and I can't. Her voice broke completely. I can't let another woman go through what I went through. I can't stay silent anymore. I sat back in my chair, processing. Senator William Garrison, powerful politician, champion of women's rights, serial predator. It made a sick kind of sense. The loudest advocates against something are sometimes the ones doing it in the shadows. Rebecca, if what you're saying is true, this is bigger than a PI case. You need lawyers. You need advocacy groups. I need someone who can find proof, she interrupted. The NDA means I can't talk publicly about what happened without losing everything and getting sued into oblivion. But if someone like you, could find evidence of a pattern, other victims, proof that the senator is paying people off, then it's not my word against us anymore. You want me to investigate a sitting U.S. senator. I want you to stop a rapist who uses his power to prey on young women and then silences them with money and threats. Rebecca leaned forward. Mr. Murray, I've followed your cases. The haunting murders, the vanishing heiress, the Riverside Club, the counterfeit conspiracy, dead man secrets. You take on powerful people, and you don't back down. Senator Garrison thinks he's untouchable. Prove him wrong. I thought about Sarah Chun, my partner, my girlfriend, the woman who'd saved my life more times than I could count. She'd been a victim of harassment early in her career, had fought her way through a system that protected powerful men. This case would matter to her. I thought about all the women who'd been silenced by NDAs and threats, and the cold calculation that their trauma was worth a dollar amount. I thought about justice and how rare it is, and how sometimes the only way to get it is to drag it kicking and screaming into the light. I'll take the case, I said. But Rebecca, you need to understand. If I start digging, the senator will know. He'll come after both of us. This will get dangerous. It's already dangerous, she said. For every woman who works for him. For every intern who thinks she's getting her big break. For Jennifer Torres, who has no idea what's coming. She met my eyes. Stop him, Mr. Murray. Whatever it takes. After Rebecca left, I sat in my office and stared at the photo of Senator Garrison on my computer screen. Handsome, successful, beloved by voters. And underneath that polished exterior, a predator. I called Sarah Chun. Please tell me this is you calling to ask me to lunch, she answered. It's better. I'm calling to ask if you want to help me take down a corrupt senator who's been sexually assaulting his interns and paying them to keep quiet. There was a long pause. I'll be there in 10 minutes. Sarah arrived with coffee, the good kind, and the grim determination I'd come to recognize. I told her everything Rebecca had told me, showed her the photos, explained about the NDA and the hush money. William Garrison, Sarah said quietly, the family values champion, the women's rights advocate. Jesus, Frank, he's been hiding in plain sight. The best predators always do. They build reputations as allies, as advocates, so no one suspects them. And when victims come forward, everyone says, not him. He's one of the good ones. What's our angle? We can't just walk up to the senator and ask if he's been assaulting women. We start with Rebecca's case. The police report she filed 3 years ago. It should still be on record. Someone shut down that investigation. I want to know who and why. Sarah nodded. I'll pull the file. Quietly. If there are dirty cops involved, we can't let them know we're looking. And I'll start digging into the senator's finances. If he's been paying off multiple women, there'll be a trail. Bank records, shell companies, payments that don't add up. Frank. Sarah's expression was serious. This is different from the other cases. Politicians have resources we can't imagine. Lawyers, connections, the ability to destroy people who threaten them. If we come at Garrison and miss, he'll bury us. Then we don't miss. I spent the next 3 days buried in public records, financial disclosures, and background research on Senator William Garrison. His official finances were clean, too clean. Every dollar accounted for, every donation transparent, every expense justified. The picture of fiscal responsibility. But I've learned that when someone's financial records are too perfect, they're hiding something. You just have to find where. I called in a favor from Miles Danforth, the electronics genius, who'd helped me on the counterfeit case. Miles had connections in the hacker community, people who could access databases that were technically off-limits. You wanted to hack a U.S. senator's financial records. Miles said when I explained what I needed, Frank, that's not just illegal, that's go to federal prison for 10 years illegal. I need to find a pattern of payments. $50,000 a month, going to multiple recipients. He's using some kind of intermediary, probably a law firm or a shell company. Miles was quiet for a moment. If I do this, it's anonymous. I was never involved. You got the information from a confidential source. Understood. 2 days later, Miles sent me an encrypted file. Inside were bank records for a company called Strategic Consulting Partners, a shell corporation registered in Delaware with no physical address and no listed employees. But it had one very active bank account. Over the past 5 years, Strategic Consulting Partners had made monthly payments of exactly $50,000 to 7 different recipients. Rebecca Hale was one of them. The other 6 were women, all in their 20s, all located in the D.C. area. 7 victims. 7 women being paid to stay silent. $3.5 million in hush money. I cross-referenced the names with Senator Garrison's office records, which were public. 5 of the 7 women had been interns or junior staffers in his office. The other 2 had worked for lobbying firms that did business with the senator. This wasn't a one-time mistake. This was a pattern, a system. William Garrison was a serial predator who'd been operating for at least 5 years, and probably longer. Sarah came through with Rebecca's police report. It had been filed 3 years ago, assigned to Detective Mark Sullivan. According to the file, Sullivan had conducted 1 interview with Rebecca, submitted her rape kit for processing, and then nothing. The case was marked insufficient evidence and closed 2 weeks later. I know Sullivan, Sarah said when we met to compare notes. He's been on the force for 20 years, clean record, good clearance rate. But 3 years ago, right after he closed Rebecca's case, he bought a new house. Paid cash, $300,000. Let me guess, his salary wouldn't cover that. Not even close. Frank, I think Sullivan was paid off. Someone, probably Garrison's people, gave him money to make the case disappear. We have financial evidence of hush money, a pattern of victims, and a dirty cop who'd buried the investigation. But we needed more. We needed proof that could withstand legal scrutiny, that could survive the army of lawyers Garrison would throw at us. We needed Jennifer Torres to come forward before it was too late. Finding Jennifer Torres was easier than convincing her to talk to me. She lived in a small apartment in Arlington, shared with 2 roommates. I waited outside her building one evening, and when she came home from work, I approached carefully. Jennifer Torres, my name is Frank Murray. I'm a private investigator, and I need to talk to you about Senator Garrison. Her face went pale. I don't know what you're talking about. Yes, you do. Rebecca Hale tried to warn you. Now I'm here to help you. Whatever happened, whatever he did, you're not alone. And you're not the first. Jennifer looked around nervously, like she expected someone to be watching. I can't talk about this. I signed an NDA. If I say anything, I'll be sued. I'll lose everything. He's done this to at least 7 women. 7 that I know of. How many more do you think there are? I pulled out my phone and showed her the list of names, the payments, the pattern. You can help stop him. But I need you to trust me. Jennifer's hands were shaking. He said no one would believe me. He said his lawyers would destroy me, that I'd never work in politics again, that my family would be humiliated. He said... She stopped, tears streaming down her face. He said I wanted it, that I'd been flirting with him, that I'd asked for it. That's what predators always say. They blame the victim, make you think it's your fault. It's not. None of this is your fault. I already signed the papers. I already took the first payment. I'm just like the others. I sold my silence. No, you survived. And now you have a chance to make sure he doesn't hurt anyone else. I handed her my card. Think about it. Talk to the other women if you want. I have their contact information. You don't have to do this alone. I left her standing on the sidewalk, hoping she'd call, knowing she might not. Fear is a powerful motivator, and Garrison had spent years perfecting the art of making his victims too afraid to speak. But 2 days later, my phone rang. Jennifer Torres was ready to talk. With Jennifer's testimony and Rebecca's willingness to break her NDA, we had 2 victims on record. But I wanted all 7. I wanted to build a case so strong that even Garrison's lawyers couldn't tear it down. I reached out to the other 5 women, one by one. It was slow, painful work. Some refused to talk. Some hung up when they heard Garrison's name. But 3 of them agreed to meet with me. Each story was the same. Young woman, full of idealism and ambition, eager to work in politics. Garrison would single them out, give them special attention, make them feel valued. Then he'd create a situation where they were alone with him, working late, a private meeting, a ride home from an event, and he'd assault them. Afterwards came the threats, the lawyers, the NDAs, the money that was supposed to make them forget, supposed to buy their silence. But silence has a price too. All of these women carried trauma, shame, the weight of knowing they'd let a predator go free. Not because they were weak, because the system was designed to protect men like William Garrison. By the end of 2 weeks, I had statements from 6 victims. 6 women willing to go on record, willing to break their NDAs, willing to face Garrison's lawyers and the media circus that would follow. The 7th woman, a lobbyist named Amanda Chun, no relation to Sarah, refused to participate. She built a successful career after leaving Garrison's orbit, and she wasn't willing to risk it. I admire what you're doing, she told me over the phone, but I've moved on. I've healed as much as I'm going to. Dredging all this up, going through a trial, having my name in the papers, it would destroy everything I've built. I understood. Not every victim is ready to come forward. Not every survivor wants to relive their trauma in public. And that was okay. 6 victims were enough. The next step was the hardest. We needed to confront Garrison directly, to give him a chance to respond to the allegations before we went to press. Sarah thought it was a bad idea. He'll deny everything, she said. And then he'll use his resources to discredit the victims, to bury the evidence, to come after us. Maybe, but if we don't give him a chance to respond, his lawyers will argue we were conducting a witch hunt. We need to be clean on this, Sarah. Every step by the book. We arranged a meeting through Garrison's chief of staff, told him I was investigating allegations of misconduct and needed to speak with the senator. They tried to brush me off, but when I mentioned I had 6 witnesses and financial records, they agreed to a meeting. The meeting was at Garrison's campaign headquarters in downtown, a sleek office filled with young staffers, making phone calls and hanging posters. The chief of staff, a woman in her 40s named Patricia Moore, met us in the lobby with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Mr. Murray, Detective Chun, The senator will see you in his private office. We were led to the campaign headquarters to a corner office where Senator William Garrison sat behind a desk, looking every bit the statesman. He stood when we entered, extended his hand. I didn't shake it. Senator Garrison, I'm Frank Murray, private investigator. This is Detective Sarah Chun, LAPD. We're here to discuss allegations of sexual assault and the systematic payment of hush money to silence your victims. Garrison's smile never wavered. That's quite an accusation, Mr. Murray. I assume you have proof. 6 women willing to testify that you sexually assaulted them while they work for you or with you. Financial records showing payments of $50,000 per month to each of them through a shell corporation called Strategic Consulting Partners. And evidence that Detective Mark Sullivan was paid to bury Rebecca Hale's police report 3 years ago. I see. Garrison sat down, still calm. And what is it you want? Money? A payout to make this all go away? Because I can assure you, Mr. Murray, I don't respond to extortion. This isn't extortion. This is your chance to respond to the allegations before they become public. Do you deny assaulting these women? I deny every word of it. These are politically motivated attacks from people who want to destroy my campaign for governor. Strategic Consulting Partners is a legitimate firm that handles sensitive matters for my office. The payments you're referring to are severance packages and confidential settlements for employment disputes, all perfectly legal. Employment disputes, Sarah said coldly. Is that what you call rape? Garrison's expression hardened. Detective Chun, I'd be very careful about making defamatory statements. My lawyers are quite skilled at protecting my reputation. Your reputation, I said, is about to be destroyed. 6 women are going public. The media will have access to all the financial records, and the FBI will be investigating the payments to Detective Sullivan. You can deny it all you want, but the truth is coming out. Garrison stood up. Then I'll see you in court, Mr. Murray. My lawyers will file defamation suits against you, the so-called victims, and anyone who publishes these lies. By the time we're done, you'll wish you'd never heard my name. You're right, I said. I do wish I'd never heard your name. Because knowing what you've done, what you've gotten away with for years, makes me sick. But the difference between you and me is that I can sleep at night. We left the office with Garrison staring after us, his composure finally cracking. Patricia Moore followed us to the elevator, her expression unreadable. Mr. Murray, she said quietly. A word. Sarah and I stepped aside. Patricia looked around to make sure no one was listening. I've worked for Senator Garrison for 8 years, she said. I've seen things, heard things. I've suspected for a long time, but I didn't want to believe it. I told myself it was just rumors, just political enemies trying to hurt him. But you knew, Sarah said. I knew, and I did nothing. I'm just as guilty as he is. Patricia pulled out a flash drive. This has copies of emails, texts, internal documents, evidence that the senator knew about the allegations and actively worked to cover them up, evidence of payments, NDAs, threats made to victims, everything. I took the flash drive. Why now? Why help us? Because I have a daughter. She's 22, studying political science. She wants to work in politics, wants to change the world. Patricia's eyes filled with tears. I can't let her walk into a world where men like William Garrison have power. I won't. With Patricia Moore's evidence added to our case, we had everything. Financial records, victim testimony, internal documents showing Garrison's knowledge and cover-up. We contacted the FBI and handed over everything, then reached out to investigative journalists at 3 major newspapers. The story broke on a Tuesday morning. 6 women coming forward with allegations of sexual assault against Senator William Garrison, financial evidence of hush money, a pattern of predatory behavior spanning at least 5 years, and a cover-up that reached into law enforcement. The response was immediate and explosive. Garrison's office released a statement denying all allegations and threatening lawsuits. His supporters rallied, claiming political conspiracy. But his opponents called for investigations, resignations, criminal charges. By Wednesday, the FBI had opened a formal investigation. By Thursday, 2 more victims had come forward, women we hadn't found, women who'd been silent for years but were emboldened by the others' bravery. By Friday, the Senate Ethics Committee had launched their own inquiry. Detective Mark Sullivan was placed on administrative leave, pending investigation into the bribery allegations. Strategic Consulting Partners' bank accounts were frozen, and Senator William Garrison's campaign for governor was effectively dead. But the hardest part was still to come. The testimony, the trial, the public scrutiny that would dissect every aspect of these women's lives. Garrison's lawyers filed motions to dismiss, to seal evidence, to discredit the victims. They released opposition research on Rebecca and Jennifer, trying to paint them as unstable, as opportunists. It was brutal. It was exactly what every assault victim fears when they consider coming forward. And for a while, I wondered if we'd done the right thing, if the cost of these women would be worth it. Then Rebecca called me. "Mr. Murray, I wanted to thank you. I know the trial is going to be hell. I know Garrison's lawyers are going to try to destroy me. But for the first time in 3 years, I'm not carrying this alone. For the first time, people believe me, and that's worth everything." The trial took 6 months. Senator William Garrison was charged with multiple counts of sexual assault, bribery, and obstruction of justice. His lawyers threw everything at the case, claimed the victims were lying, that the NDAs were legitimate, that he was the victim of a political conspiracy. But the evidence was overwhelming. 6 women testified, describing similar assaults, similar threats, similar payments. Patricia Moore testified about the cover-up, about the internal emails where Garrison joked about a collection of interns. The financial records showed the systematic payments. And Detective Sullivan, facing his own criminal charges, testified that he'd been paid $300,000 to bury Rebecca's case. The jury deliberated for 3 days. When they came back, the verdict was guilty on all counts. Senator William Garrison was sentenced to 25 years in federal prison. His political career was over. His reputation was destroyed. His family, his wife had divorced him during the trial, wanted nothing to do with him. Detective Sullivan got 10 years for bribery and obstruction. Patricia Moore received immunity for her cooperation. And the 6 women who came forward became advocates, working to change laws around NDAs and sexual assault cases to protect future victims from being silenced. Rebecca Hale went back to school, finished her degree, and started working for a nonprofit that helps assault survivors navigate the legal system. She called me 6 months after the trial to tell me she was doing okay, that she was healing, that she felt like she'd taken her life back. "You gave me justice," she said, "and you showed me that powerful men aren't untouchable. Thank you, Mr. Murray." The case changed me, changed how I thought about power, about the systems that protect predators, about the courage it takes to come forward when everything is stacked against you. It also changed my relationship with Sarah. Watching her work this case, seeing her fierce commitment to these victims, reminded me why I've fallen for her in the first place. She wasn't just a detective who saved my life. She was someone who fought for people who couldn't fight for themselves. One night, a few weeks after the trial ended, we were having dinner at her place. Just us, no cases to discuss, no mysteries to solve. And I found myself saying something I hadn't planned. "Move in with me." Sarah looked up from her wine. "What?" "Move in with me. My apartment's bigger than yours, and you're there half the time anyway. Plus, it would save you the commute when you need to rescue me from getting killed." She smiled. "Are you sure? We've only been officially together for a few months." "We've been unofficially together for years, Sarah. We've solved murders, taken down conspiracies, faced down killers. If we can survive all that, I think we can survive sharing a bathroom. When you put it that way..." She leaned across the table and kissed me. "Okay, yes, let's do it." Moving in together was both easier and harder than I expected. Sarah brought organization to my chaos, turned my bachelor apartment into something that felt like a home. She also brought her cat, a grumpy tabby named Detective who hated me on sight. But we made it work. Mrs. Chun was delighted. She brought up double portions of egg rolls to celebrate. Miles Danforth sent a housewarming gift, a surveillance camera, because apparently that's what genius hackers give as gifts. And Detective Sarah Chun became a permanent fixture in my life, both at work and at home. I went back to my office on a Monday morning to find a new case waiting. A woman whose brother had disappeared, a man who needed help clearing his name, a company that suspected embezzlement. The usual mix of problems that people bring to a PI when they don't know where else to turn. But I also found a letter from Rebecca Hale, thanking me again, telling me about the lives that had changed because she'd found the courage to speak up. And I thought about Senator William Garrison, rotting in prison, his legacy destroyed not by political opponents but by the truth. Some people think justice is about punishment, about making the bad guys pay. But real justice is about giving victims their voices back. It's about changing systems, so the next person who comes forward doesn't have to face the same obstacles. It's about making powerful people understand that their power has limits. The name's Frank Murray. I'm a private investigator working out an office above Chen's Golden Dragon on 4th Street. I've got a girlfriend who saved my life regularly, a cat that hates me, and an office that finally looks professional. I'm not rich. I'm not famous. Most of my cases still involve cheating spouses and missing persons. But sometimes, just sometimes, I get to take down a predator who thought he was untouchable. I get to help survivors find justice. I get to make the world a little bit safer for the next young woman who wants to change the world through politics. Those are the cases that remind me why I do this job, why I keep taking the dangerous ones, the complicated ones, the ones that powerful people want buried. Because somebody has to stand up for people who can't stand up for themselves. And that somebody is me. If you enjoyed this story, please subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications when the next Frank Murray case drops. From haunted mansions to vanishing heiresses, from murders at exclusive clubs to federal conspiracies, from dead men's secrets to bringing down corrupt politicians, Frank Murray takes on the cases that matter and never backs down until justice is served. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next investigation.